Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I'm so glad you're joining us, because we're tackling a topic that's, well, absolutely crucial, yet it kind of gets swept under the rug in the animal care industry. Today, we're opening up a clear, evidence-based roadmap for upgrading small animal boarding to what we like to call the gold standard. We're going to take a deep dive into the real science of safe bedding, proper ventilation, and some hidden hazards that might actually be lurking in your facility right now. So, let's just dive right in.
Just take a look at the little hamster up on screen. When owners drop off their guinea pigs, hamsters, or mice for a boarding stay, they are literally trusting us with their family members. But here's the reality check we have to face. Are our standard boarding practices actually harming these tiny guests? We often focus so much on the dogs and cats in our care, but these small animals face invisible, out-of-sight dangers in their microenvironments, stuff that can easily turn a simple weekend stay into a severe health crisis.
And really, that brings us to the big question of the day. For all you facility managers and dedicated caretakers out there, I want you to honestly ask yourself, are we unintentionally compromising small animal health through our everyday choices? It's so incredibly easy to fall into a routine, especially when the respiratory hazards these guys face are completely invisible to the naked eye. But once you see the science, I promise you, you can't unsee it. We've got to jolt ourselves out of that complacency and look at the hard evidence.
So, to get us to that gold standard, here's our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting 5 key areas: the hidden boarding crisis, unmasking invisible killers, the gold standard bedding, mastering the microenvironment, and finally, the implementation strategy. All right, let's get started.
Section 1. The hidden boarding crisis, the unseen threat.
The fundamental issue here boils down to biology. Unlike dogs and cats who share our general room environment, small animals like mice and guinea pigs are hypersensitive to their immediate microenvironments. We're talking about the few square inches right around their noses. Because of this, seemingly harmless everyday choices in bedding and airflow can totally compromise their health. And the scariest part, since they're prey species, they're absolute masters of disguise when they're sick. Respiratory issues usually go completely unnoticed until they become chronic or worse, life-threatening.
Moving on to Section 2. Unmasking invisible killers, everyday hazards.
Okay, we've all walked into a pet shop and caught that fresh pine or cedar smell, right? It smells clean to us, but the science behind that scent is actually pretty alarming. Those aromatic softwoods are emitting volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, specifically phenols. These harmful compounds cause liver enzyme disruption and chronic respiratory inflammation in small animals. Even though they're everywhere on store shelves, pine and cedar are strongly discouraged by small animal veterinarians. Seriously, if they're in your facility, they need to go.
Which leads us right to our next invisible killer: poor moisture management. If a bedding has poor wicking performance, it stays damp. And dampness? It's basically a VIP pass for mold and bacteria. But it gets worse. As urine breaks down in that moisture, it creates ammonia. For an animal trapped right above it, it is a direct, fast-track pathway to respiratory infections and long-term lung damage.
So how do we actually measure safety? Here is your first critical benchmark number to write down: less than 2%. Particulate matter, meaning dust, in your bedding must absolutely stay below 2%. Anything over that threshold is going to trigger sneezing, watery eyes, and progressive lung irritation. And remember, sneezing is often the very first visible warning sign. During a boarding stay, even moderate dust levels have a severe cumulative effect on animals this small.
And here's the second major number you absolutely have to know: 25 ppm. If the ammonia levels in an enclosure go over 25 parts per million, you've crossed into high toxicity. At this level, ammonia causes severe respiratory infections and irreversible organ damage. We have to manage that microenvironment so ammonia literally never gets the chance to spike this high. This means we have to be incredibly sharp consumers. Check out the packaging on screen. It boldly claims to be 100% natural, but deceptive labeling is everywhere in this industry. The word natural on a bag absolutely does not guarantee safety. Harmful aromatic oils and artificial dyes are super common in products making these exact claims. We've got to look past the flashy marketing.
Let's quickly knock out 2 more hidden hazards you might run into. First, artificial fragrances. Scented beddings are made to mask odors for us humans, but they severely irritate the airways of small mammals, often leading to chronic nasal discharge. Second, synthetic fibers, like those fluffy cotton wool-style nesting materials. These are a massive no-go. They pose huge choking hazards and can cause deadly intestinal blockages if swallowed.
Just keep them out of your enclosures, period.
Section 3. The gold standard bedding. Evidence-based choices.
So what should we use? There are exactly 3 substrates that actually hit the evidence-based mark for animal well-being. First up, unbleached recycled paper. It's highly absorbent, has consistently low dust, and is super gentle and sensitive feet. Second is aspen shavings. Aspen is literally the only wood shaving considered safe because it has 0 aromatic phenols. If it's kiln-dried, it's perfect for burrowing species. And finally, fleece liners. When you pair it with an absorbent underlayer, fleece is completely dust-free, washable, eco-friendly, and honestly, really cost-effective for high-volume boarding.
All right, Section 4, Mastering the Microenvironment, Airflow and Ventilation.
When we're looking at airflow, mechanical HEPA-filtered ventilation is always the gold standard because it actively scrubs particulates right out of the room. But if you have to rely on natural airflow, it must be exceptionally well managed. Why? Because it's the air quality inside the cage that matters, and a direct draft blowing onto an enclosure causes rapid temperature drops and massive stress. We want gentle circulation, definitely not a wind tunnel. To guarantee that stable microenvironment, here are your concrete environmental targets. You need 10 to 15 air changes per hour for fresh circulation. The temperature has to stay strictly between 65 and 79 degrees Fahrenheit. Humidity? Keep it below 65% so we prevent that awful mold proliferation we talked about. And finally, maintain a standard 12-hour light cycle for their biological health. These stable conditions keep the animals comfortable and completely unstressed.
And that brings us to our final section, the implementation strategy, daily protocols.
Okay, here is your non-negotiable protocol. Step 1, a daily spot clean to remove soiled spots. Step 2, a full weekly replacement of all bedding. Step 3, ongoing vigilant monitoring. I literally cannot stress this enough. Consistent execution of this exact routine is the absolute best way to prevent toxic ammonia spikes. It's simple, but it requires total consistency.
To support that routine, here's your measurable action plan. First, audit every product label in your building. Toss anything with oils, dyes, or synthetic fibers. Second, proactively test your air quality using digital monitors or test strips and aim to keep it below 10 BPM. Third, use smart facility design. Sealed surfaces and stainless steel stop bacteria from hiding and keep your clean supplies far away from wash areas. And finally, train your staff. They need to know that lethargy, labored breathing, or a hunched posture are massive red flags.
This transformation is the core value of everything we've talked about today. Just look at this before and after. On one side, a typical scenario with pine shavings, 80% humidity, and recurring respiratory infections. Then look at the after, utilizing aspen or paper, HEPA-filtered air, and sub-50% humidity. Facilities that invest in these evidence-based protocols see a huge drop in respiratory issues. You dramatically lower vet costs, and you build unbreakable trust with your clients. It's a total win-win.
Which leaves us with one final provocative question. Every small animal in your care deserves a safe, dust-free, well-ventilated environment. So, will you commit to setting the new evidence-based benchmark and completely eliminating preventable respiratory distress in your facility today? You've got the knowledge, you have the roadmap, and now you have the power to earn the trust of every single pet owner who walks through your doors. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep improving, and I'll catch you next time.